So now that this is about to be behind you, do you remember what elicited the biggest response, negative or positive? Like in the last 3 seasons, what was the moment of maybe some of your worst fan mail or your best? Was it a specific arc or something that happened with the characters?
Gotta have something to do with Buffy and Spike, right?
I don't know. I'm asking. This
No,
isn't
I
a
don't
leading
know.
question.
I guess I don't think about it. Like, I experience these books from the inside. I experience these books with Chris and Rebecca and Sierra and Joss, and that's who I'm experiencing it with. And so I know the stuff that we've done that we've responded to, the stuff that we've done that we feel like we've done something right. Like for me, one of the most powerful moments was when we were doing the cover to Buffy season 8, number 5. The variant cover that George's did, that he had the idea to do a wanted, like a recruitment poster. Buffy wants you.
Yes.
And Joss said, yeah, but add across the bottom, to be strong. Buffy wants you to be strong. And like, I just love that image so much, you know, and it goes back to that thing of like, hopefully we're putting something good out into the world. And with that image, I felt like we tapped into the core of what Buffy's all about, and we put something good out into the world. I'm really pleased that we did the abortion story in season 9. I'm really happy about that, and I love what Andrew did. Like, I read that script, and the way that Andrew handled that was just great. It was just right for what we were trying to do. It was just right. One fan hates it, one fan loves it, whatever. But for what we were trying to do, Andrew Chambliss nailed it, and that's a good feeling.
Stand by that, yeah. Okay, so off of that a little bit, what made you want to become a writer in the first place?
I was such a big reader, I think, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I read obsessively as a real little kid, like really pretty little. I remember when I was in 2nd grade, I tutored a 3rd grader on how to read. Wow. Just a neighbor kid, you know, but I was such a passionate reader, and stories meant so much to me, and I would reread stories, and what happened to characters just like was a big part of how I experienced the world. And I think it's not uncommon that when you have that love of reading and love of stories that early on, that you go in that direction. And then, you know, and then things happen. Like when I was in 5th grade, a reporter from the local paper came down and talked to us, and talked to my class, and you know, and she was this young woman. She was probably 22 years old, right?
So
now
probably
I
seemed
think
like
she's
an
a
old
kid,
lady.
but she was this grown woman. She was this reporter for this newspaper that, you know, in my ridiculously small town, and she singled me out, and she talked to me about writing, and she mentored me for a little while, and it was like that experience made such an impression. I wonder without that experience, how much less I would have been able to believe in the dream of doing this stuff for a living.
She like shaped your future.
Yeah, she did, and I think that happens to people all the time, and I don't know if people pay enough attention to it, but those moments for which you should really be grateful that somebody gave you the time of day and cared about what you were doing a little bit. And, you know, when I was it was like 5th grade, so I was like 10 years old, 11 years old, and she, again, was probably 20, 22 years old, and that attention from her, I've never forgotten that. I'll never forget that, you know. And then similarly, just like the opportunity to work with Joss, it's like you get that. You're lucky enough to get that, and it's the next thing that fuels you on toward your goal.
Wow. So how would you, now that you're leaving Buffy, how would you like to see Buffy progress? I mean, I guess your contribution will be a little bit less, so how would you like to see, you know, how she's going to move forward with?
Well, you know, it's weird because we did work out season 10, so we know everything that's happened in season 10, so I want to make sure that everybody stays on target that everybody delivers this story the way that it was intended and finds the better ways to deliver it.
I mean, you're still the boss, so you're still going to be
the editor-in-chief, and but Sierra doesn't really require a lot of supervision, so I'll be reading the comics.
Yeah, you'll be a fan.
I think she and I will, we brainstorm. Like, if I have a problem, I go to her office. If she has a problem, she comes to my office. We'll continue to do that, but it'll just be a lot different. So I doubt it'll be a case of, like, issue 20 comes out, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea that was going to happen.
Although, maybe you want to try that sometime.
I know. It probably
it might be nice.
Simplify my life, right?
I don't know if you can even answer this, but how would you like to see the series end?
I think about that a lot, because I think stories need endings, I think story. I was meeting with a writer today, and he's doing a 12-issue series for us right now, but it's like with the idea that it may be ongoing. We may do it forever, but he's thinking it's really more likely to go 18 issues or something and then be done, because the story's got to end. You gotta finish at some point, or it's not really a story,
True.
So it is a thing that Joss and I and Sierra and I and some other people have talked about over time, but it just doesn't feel like it needs to happen yet, and not for commercial reasons or anything, but it's just like wherever Buffy's going, it's a little bit further. It's not, wherever season 10 is going to leave us, it's not 30 issues from the end of Buffy. It's not like season 11 should be the last. And it's scary. It's like I love the characters so much, and I love their world so much that, like, even the idea of having a conversation about, like, well, Joss, how does she die?
Right.
Or is
I'm
her
sure
death?
All the fans feel that way too. It's like it is a parting that you don't want to think about yet.
Yeah, and like I don't want to. I have asked that question, but it's not a question that I want to probe deeply to get an answer for, because it's like, is that the ending? Does her story end with her death, or does her story end somewhere else? Like, does she get a happy ending? Does she get to leave this behind?
Does she get old and be a grandmother or something?
And yeah, but we don't know, and I don't know that he knows. But it would be nice if there's a point somewhere in the future where he does have more time to come back and be more involved and be the guy that ends it and do it in comics. But who knows when?
Right.
Who knows when? It doesn't have to happen next year.
So you mentioned to me that working with Joss Whedon over the years has really influenced your recent work.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, again, when I first started working on Buffy, I didn't really get it. And I wasn't working directly with Joss, and the people between me and him that I was able to work with, they didn't get it.
At Fox? Like licensing people, you mean? Oh, other people.
No. I just didn't want to say it.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, they didn't get it. Yeah. They were approvals people, and they didn't necessarily get it. And it took me a while to really get it. I was coming at it from a real different background, and I just feel like I've learned so much, and I view so much of what I watch, shows or read books and everything through this lens. So,
what books are you going to stay writing?
Just Abe Sapien. I'm writing the monthly Abe Sapien story. Right now I'm writing issue 20 of that. I think issue 15 is about to come out, but I'm writing issue 20 of that, and we're going to go a ways longer. There is an end. We have the end of the story all worked out. We just have to get there. But Abe's the main thing. Actually, when I saw Amber Benson last night, she's like, well, aren't you doing your own thing? You got to write your own thing. Write your own thing. And I was like, well, there's this story from my childhood, and I told her a little bit about it. And she's like, you need to do that right now. And I'm like, I am about to have a baby.
You're like, my head's going to explode.
I will do that later at some date in the future.
Oh, that was nice advice from Miss Benson.
Yeah.
But Abe Sapien, so, and I know we've spoke about this before, but it's for sure still relevant. For readers who really just read Buffy, why do you think Abe Sapien, the title, would be a good expansion for them?
Abe Abe is a little bit more about the horror stuff, and it does have this dark atmosphere and everything, but it is so much about this character trying to find out the truth about himself. And, you know, in a way, every novel, every great story is about a character's search for truth, and to some degree, a character's search for truth about themselves. And like Buffy, with Abe, I just look at that very natural, normal human thing and blow it up into a genre thing. While there's a lot of monster stuff going on, the monsters are never there just to scare you or just to be weird or just to be gross or anything. They're there to explore this character stuff. This stuff I did with issue 12, with Grace, I wanted to introduce this female character that would become an important part of Abe's life and let them play off each other. And, you know, in a way, dealing with Grace is a way for me to wrestle with the idea of a female character in this kind of action-adventure story in a different way than how Joss's stuff normally does it.
Yeah, not the kick-ass heroine
Yeah,
way.
she's a woman who's been through a lot, and how does she deal with that, and how does Abe deal with that? And, you know, it's funny, through the course of writing, like, my ideas about where it's going with Grace it's changed drastically at times, and sometimes it's changed because I realized that some of the things that I maybe was going to do with her as a character wouldn't be the most truthful look at this kind of character, you know, and I think maybe what I mean by a truthful look at this kind of character is really through a kind of Whedon-esque lens.
Yeah. So you feel that your work on Whedon titles maybe influenced that part of it a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, my work with Mignola influenced my stuff on the Whedon books, and my work with Joss influences everything else. You know, my hope is that whatever book I'm working on, I bring a little bit of what I learned from Joss to make that book better, because I love the things that I've learned working with him.
Cool. And finally, speaking of that, it looks like Abe is continuing his gruesome walking road trip through troubles. Is it time for him to come home?
That's funny you should say that. Those words start to come up. People telling Abe to go home starts to come up more in the comic, and the problem is that's a little open to interpretation, where home is for Abe. What does it mean for him to go home? Does he go back to the BPRD? Or is it some other home that he needs to look into, which he eventually will. But yeah, when I was a kid, I read a lot of comics in heavy metal and other places about characters in a wasteland, in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And in doing the Mignola titles, we've basically kind of destroyed the world. And so we've created this like dirty, rotten, screwed up ruin of planet Earth. And the guys who draw Abe Sapien, Max Fiumara and Sebastian Fiumara, do a particularly beautiful job of bringing in that world to life. Mm-hmm. So I'm enjoying having Abe walk through this like ruined desert, southwestern America. But it will soon change. The book will change directions pretty drastically after issue 22. Mm-hmm. And but up until then, we'll still see Abe going through this desolate desert wasteland.
And that's it. That is my last question for Scott Allie.
Oh yeah, we'll see each other around.
Thank you for making such an amazing contribution to our fandom, and best of luck to you on your writing with Abe and everything else that you do forever and ever, evermore.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. That made me sad. Did it make you sad?
Yeah.
This is Scott Allie at Dark Horse Comics with Buffyfest, the only Whedon fan site that doesn't hate me.